This was one of the most inspiring and powerful conversations that we've had so far on this podcast. Alex Monello, founder of the Wellery, completely shifted my perspective on healing, especially when it comes to complex chronic health issues. What really strikes me about her work is how she approaches healing from chronic illness with so much nuance and compassion. She doesn't really believe in the one-size-fits-all solution. She instead talks about bio-individuality, about really listening to your own body, and about trusting that we all carry a well of wisdom within us. In our conversation, Alex opens up about her own health journey and what it taught her about advocacy in medical spaces, the role in nature and wellness, and what it means to reclaim agency over your health when the system doesn't always make it easy. She has this beautiful way of reminding us that healing isn't always linear. It's more like a direction, a line on a map rather than a dot you're trying to land on. If you've ever felt lost or overwhelmed in your health journey, or if you've ever wondered how to move forward when things just don't feel clear, I think you'll find a lot of clarity and hope in this episode. I am so excited for you to listen to it. Welcome to Detox Your Dome, the podcast, where we empower you with knowledge about the ingredients that make up the products that we use every day. And we help you to become a more informed consumer on your journey towards living a clean, safe, and toxin-free lifestyle. Detox Your Dome, body, home, planet. Welcome, Alex, to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you on, talk all things health, wellness. I would love to start with your health journey and what inspired the Wellery.
Definitely. So my own healing journey has spanned, at this point, over a decade. It started with some confusing symptoms that definitely dominoed over the years. Complex chronic health journey, lots of different providers, overwhelmed with all of the choices between conventional and alternative care. I spent a lot of time in this narrative that my body was broken, because in my mind at the time, it continued to break down. It continued to get worse. And I felt like I was in this race against time to find the right doctor, the right medication, the right supplement, the right healer to fix me before I completely fell apart. So definitely went down that road. And at some point, I looked at myself and realized that I'd completely lost myself in the process. You know, my own role in healing, my intuition, my agency, which is a big theme with how I work with clients now. I just completely lost myself. I was in the back seat and I realized that I had no connection to my body, my own wisdom, and the ability to make aligned, informed choices for my health. So that's what catapulted me building the Wellery. I wanted to be the person that I needed all of those years ago, the type of support that could help me illuminate, where I was stuck, what I needed, what I wanted, what my goals for wellness and for healing actually were, and then help me actually take the steps to reach those goals. So that's the background of the Wellery. I do one-on-one coaching. I do healthcare navigation support. It's like chronic illness concierge. And then there will be a community aspect at one point.
Amazing.
Gosh. Can you, for the listeners, define what chronic illness is?
Sure. Yes. So anything that continues for a long period of time. Acute illness would be something like you catch a cold, you get the flu. Something chronic is, that flu feeling never leaves, or, you wake up and you feel like you have the flu every day, or a condition that, doesn't have a cure to date, sticks around, or something you have to manage your lifestyle, change your lifestyle around.
When talking about health and wellness, I feel like there's major categories. There's so many different directions we can and will go during this conversation, but what would you say are like the major overarching pillars of health and wellness and like your approach towards healing?
I think that's a big question, first of all. I think that there's a lot of noise around the right way, like the only way. I think there's a lot of people that share their healing paths as if they're roadmaps. It's easy for us to see those and think, well, if they healed, then that has to be the solution. Right. If those were the things that they focused on, then those are the things that are going to heal me. This person said they reversed their Hashimoto's, so I'll take their exact path, right? And it's never so simple. There's so many instances of chronic illness being reversed or put into remission. So I'm not bringing up chronic illness as this end all be all. For some people, it is something that you have to live with forever. And your relationship to it can definitely change, and your symptoms as it relates to the illness can change, definitely. What I always come back to is, one, there's no right path. Everyone is bio-individual. What works for one person might not work for you. There are some foundational pillars of health that I think that everyone can tune into. And what that looks like for you might be different, but that sleep, food, community, relationship, your environment, your relationship to movement, all of these things that you think of as foundational are very important. And I think that everyone has a different relationship to them, and what that looks like for them is different, but definitely.
Do you think some of those like buckets are more important, like certain buckets are more important for certain people, or do you think it always comes down to balance and trying to like balance everything at the same time?
I mean, based on my experience in my own situation, as well as the people I've talked to through like a coach-client relationship, I think that there's different parts of your life that are asking for more attention from you at certain phases, at certain seasons of your life. Like maybe sleep and movement are like your top priority right now. And then something shifts, right? And then focusing on your nutrition and your, social relationships. That's really what's nourishing you. I think there's a lot of things outside of the plate that are important to our overall well-being. I think that we're constantly oscillating between all of these different pillars. I think that when we get lost, they're easy foundations to return to, even if we don't know which one is asking for the most attention. As soon as we start pouring into some of these foundations, we'll become aware of, what parts of our lives might be needing more attention.
I love your story, Alex. I can definitely feel the like compassion you have towards it, and like that you've gone through pain and all of that. So thank you for sharing everything. What would you recommend? Because the whole thing is like chronic illness, you have to look inward, right? It's all rooted in emotions. What are some ways that people can look inward? Do you have like tools or tricks? Like, how did you overcome that yourself?
Yeah. Well, first I'll note that like the emotional root of chronic disease is definitely a thing. It's definitely powerful, but also don't want to discount the like very real and physical, like physiological experience of so many people. And chronic illness can also look like something you're born with. It can look like something that doesn't, that has way more physical presence. I think regardless of experience, tapping into your emotional root, looking inward is always a good idea. Like having that like fortitude within yourself, that safety within yourself is something that was a huge shift for me. And there's so many practices that can help you do that. I think a big one for me is spending time alone with myself, which sounds so simple as we know, but we're not really alone a lot. And when we are we really alone? Or is there a podcast going on in the background? Is someone around? Are you on your phone? Are you texting? Are you scrolling, right? Like when you actually carve out some sort of space to really sit with yourself, it's uncomfortable at first, but then it becomes this opportunity to create a safe place within yourself. And once you have that, the like being aware of the emotions that come up, being aware of the patterns that come up, being aware of generational trauma, for example, that is showing up in your life right now. It's a lot easier. Not, I shouldn't say easier because it's not easy. It's a lot more available to you, if that makes sense.
We're literally just talking about this, like the ability to rest and why like rest is so essential, and just like being alone with your thoughts and not having those other distractions. Of course, like, we're all busy people, but like being busy is just a distraction in your real life. So,
and Monica's the queen of like going for walks with no phone, with like she just told me right when she got here, she's like, oh, I went on this 5-mile walk yesterday, no phone. The amount of times you're like, oh, I walked all the way to the grocery store, I realized I didn't have a phone, wallet, or anything, like I had to just walk home. You're amazing for that.
Amazing.
And I need to do it, right? Because like you have to be in touch with your own thoughts, and then you like things come up and you're like, okay, but why do I feel that way? Like, where does that come from? Like, is this from a story that I told myself when I was 10 years old? Is this like something that, like, my family told me? Like, what is the deeper root? And I think, like, I guess, how do you encourage someone to go there with themselves?
Yeah, well, that's a good note on encouraging people, because I think a lot of the times, I don't know what prompted you, maybe you've always been good at being by yourself. A lot of people aren't, But it takes, for some people, like a hard left. Like something comes up, they hit a rock bottom before they actually, look in the mirror and find space to reflect and connect to themselves. And ideally, we start to do that before we hit the rock bottom. And I mean, I think that's part of why I'm so vulnerable in sharing my story. One of the gifts of chronic illness for me was completely rewiring my relationship with myself and my body and like honoring that time with myself. And I think if I can share that, maybe it resonates with some people.
Absolutely.
But
You're so
everyone has a different why, right?
You're so vulnerable on your page. I'm always learning so much by your stories. You can tell how thoughtfully you're crafting all of your messaging, because it really reminds me of all of those things, of looking inwards and being with myself and being more contemplative and reflective on how I'm feeling and what my body's trying to tell me. And like you said, a lot of people have to hit rock bottom, or they have to take that hard left. My question is, along those lines, it's really easy to recognize that something is wrong when we have the really extreme symptoms, when we're at the point where like we need to go to the doctor, we need to figure out something is, we cannot ignore it anymore. But what are some, more minor symptoms that we may not really validate along the way that we should start paying attention to? And like you have your whole mantra around your body's not broken, like it's trying to tell you something. So tell us about some of the things that we should try to recognize within our bodies.
Well, I definitely agree that your symptoms are often messengers. You guys just had Annie Rip on from Let's Feel Good, right?
Yes,
And
we
she
love
talks about
Annie.
it all the time. Yeah, Annie's the best. But this idea of you just not feeling good,
Yeah.
like that's enough. That's enough for you to pay attention. If you've been waking up every day and something is just off, you can break that down into like a fatigue that doesn't lift, like bloating and digestive issues that you can't really handle, cycle disruptions that are not just a normal part of being a woman.
Right.
I'll hammer that down. Skin changes, dizziness, food sensitivities, even like emotional volatility or like brain fog, trouble concentrating. It's not just you being lazy. Like often these are signs from your body that something needs attention, or it's asking you to look inward, take a pause, step back. And it's tough in our medical system. You often have to wait until you've already hit the rock bottom in order to find the relief.
Right.
There's a lot more efforts obviously now towards preventative care, but a lot of that comes to self-advocacy too. Like if you notice those things, take yourself seriously, and if you get gaslit, it can be really tough when you carve out space to come back and acknowledge like, yeah, that doesn't feel normal. It's not. And you can find the support systems within yourself and other people to get the care that you need, or to make lifestyle changes, or to just reconnect with yourself in a different way.
I love that. I agree. Like it's not normal to feel those things, and like we only get to live this like one life. Like
Right.
we shouldn't
Right.
be miserable during it.
Right.
What
Totally.
what would you say about someone who's like, okay, I just like I'm in my 20s, I need a hustle. I need this job. This job right now is going to give me a lot of stress, but I need it. It's going to make me money. It's going to make my life better in the future. What would you say to someone like that?
Well, as an ex-investment banker, I can in New York City, I can understand. I think it comes down to that is a totally fine decision, and it can be a really empowering decision if it's a decision that you have intention behind, right? If you're engaging with it with the awareness that there's other parts of your lifestyle that may be taking a back seat, and with the promise to yourself to check in with yourself when you need to. In my personal example, I didn't check in with myself until I was, going to the hospital and, already closer and closer to a rock bottom that, caused me to change career. That's not what I hope for anyone. And I think, that is the messaging a lot in your 20s is this is when you grind, and then you'll, you see the light afterwards. Do I agree with that 100%? No. This is a short life. Go ahead, sorry.
No, it's the same thing. Like it's all about boundaries that you set for yourself.
Yeah,
So,
right.
saying no to things is not like you don't need a reason behind it. You don't need to like no is a full sentence. And
right.
I don't know. Like I feel like sometimes I'm in the trap with this where I'm like, oh shoot, like I gotta go to those plans, or oh my god, I haven't seen this friend in a million years. I gotta see her. Like she's gonna be disappointed if I cancel last minute. But I think like you gotta almost like give yourself grace and just be like, no, I gotta set the boundary. Like I gotta go to bed at 8 o'clock tonight. It is.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I think that's the only sustainable way. And it's up to you to check in with yourself and see which areas of your life like need those boundaries. Maybe it's social at a certain point in your life, maybe it's movement, maybe it's travel, whatever it is, like check in with yourself. Are you nourished enough? Like, do you have a certain baseline that's healthy and secure? And are you giving yourself the opportunity to check in with yourself? Or are you just on autopilot thinking you need to put your head down and grind and then you're going to wake up either sick or miserable or,
Right.
one of the above?
So you touched a little bit on self-advocacy and just advocacy for your own health. What are some tips you could give to people who are going through their healing journeys and are trying to advocate for their health, but they're just not being listened to and not being heard by their healthcare providers?
Well, one, I see you and I feel you, and it's really hard out there. There's some great providers, and there's some providers that don't fully see you and your experience. And it's tough that it's so up to us to voice that, to, speak our truth, to advocate, and to ask for second opinions. And I also recognize it's very different in different countries, different like healthcare systems. But at least in the US, depending on insurance, if you are not being taken seriously, you can ask for a referral to a second opinion in most instances. You can ask specifically why, like, this symptom is affecting my quality of life. Like, I understand this is being dismissed. Can you give me a reason why? And otherwise, can you give me a referral to a second opinion? If you can get second opinions, do it. I needed to in many cases. I had people say, "Oh, you're just another New York investment banker. You're just anxious." While I might have been an anxious banker, I also I also had a number of like very concerning health issues that were just completely put under the table, right? Or with my endometriosis, like just part of being a woman, just, you have a slow gastric motility. That's why you're bloated. No, this is more than that.
And it is crazy.
So I think,
like anytime you like get a second or third opinion, they always are saying different things. Like they will always be different perspectives on the same symptoms that you're talking about. So it's like it's a good just rule of thumb.
Right. I think an important skill for everyone is to be able to, you don't have to necessarily translate to medical jargon, but be able to communicate what's happening in your body in your words, right? So a good tip for most people that are experiencing something mystery symptom like is keep track of it. Find, notice your own patterns, put it in a journal. I go to most doctor's appointment, or especially did when I was in the thick of it, with my journal right here.
I've started doing that
bullet
too.
point.
Yep, like writing things down because I feel like when I'm in that moment, it's sort of like high pressure, high stakes. They only have a few minutes to see you too. You're trying to get everything out and then you forget things, you forget what they're telling you. Like I'm always out there like writing things down and it's been so helpful.
Yeah, because you forget what you do during the day-to-day of life.
Right.
But like writing it all out, you could almost sometimes notice like the things that trigger you.
Right.
And like the time of day when it is triggering. So like you could almost like be like kind of like rewrite your story and learn from yourself like what's going on.
Right.
100%. And unless you're working with like a concierge functional medicine doctor, like yes, you only get the 5 to 15 minutes max, and that's not even a fault of them. It's a fault of the system and the billing and everything. So they don't have the time to go with you and start making pattern recognition or, go through every single bullet point. But when you're in there and you're prepared, I know the wave goes over you and the like white coat authority scares you and they might just start talking at you. But if you have something physical that's like, I at least want these 3 questions answered, like most of the time you have a lot more confidence in the experience and might actually get something out of it. Because so many times we go in with mystery symptoms, you come out and you're even more confused.
Right.
You're like, what?
And also the amount of times that I've been given professional advice. I mean, even like our air conditioning broke yesterday and like the AC, I was the only one home. He came, he told me everything that was wrong with it and what happened. And I'm like, I'm trying to explain to my girlfriend when she got home. And I'm like, I literally have no idea what he told me. And like, I feel that same way about doctors too and medical appointments. Like sometimes the stuff, it just doesn't even click.
Their
and
jargon.
Right. And so you're like, I actually have no idea what they just told me. I know that they told me something like that I should be remembering, but it's hard.
I record.
Oh, that's smart.
There you go.
I put it in voice memo and then I like listened to it a couple different times.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
I totally need to do that.
It truly
just goes
by
over your head.
you.
Yeah. It's hard.
But
Yeah.
yeah, even if you're locked in, like, it's just inevitable. I actually had a provider once that told me to record. I was
Wow.
like, this is
That's
great.
great advice.
So now I'm
Yeah.
listening even more because it seems like you have something
Right.
important to say.
They're like, no, you're gonna want to record this. They're like, what I'm gonna tell you is good. Okay, so you talk a lot on your Instagram about, the ebb and flow of healing, and you're very open and honest about flare-ups and when you're not feeling your best and not feeling 100%. What advice do you have for people who are experiencing those ebb and flows and the ups and downs of their healing journey?
This is a good timing with this question. I was actually talking to Annie earlier, and I'm going through a bit of a flare right now. And I was a little bit frustrated earlier, but then, check in with myself.
Right.
Healing's not linear, and when you flare up, it does not mean failure. At the earlier stages of my experience with chronic illness, I thought that there would be this like one day where everything was going to be done, and after that is when I could start living. It's not really how it works. Even if you reduce your symptoms, put it into remission, life comes up. I really like the quote by Dr. Gabor Mate, which is something along the lines of healing is a direction, not a destination, a line on a map and not a dot. And it is not a straight line either. It goes more like
I love
this.
that.
Lots
I
of
love
circles, lots of ups and downs. I think reconnecting to that idea that healing's not linear, life's not linear as much as we want it to be, it's not going to be.
Right.
But if we're connected to the things that ground us, that bring us back to center, and if we have tools within us that we can lean on when things aren't going the way we want to, that's where our strength is, right?
I have been keeping a major secret from you guys. So I started this brand Detox Your Dome around 2 years ago, and I started posting online about non-toxic living, helping this community understand ingredients better and find better for you alternatives, and just in general become more conscious consumers. There are so many resources out there, and yet the biggest takeaway that I hear from this community is that it's still just very complicated, sifting through the noise, having one centralized location where you can find non-toxic products, understand ingredient labels, and sort of track all the things in our lives that are quote unquote toxic. It still just feels overwhelming. There are so many flaws with apps like Yuka, the nuances with ingredients, and just fear mongering amongst influencers. So I have been very hard at work behind the scenes working on a solution to this problem, and I'm so excited to finally tell you guys about the launch of the Detox Your Dome app. This app has 4 main features that make non-toxic living simpler and easier than ever. The first, it has interactive guides for your body care routines and for the rooms in your home. So, for example, if you choose the skincare detox, it has 8 actionable steps that help you detox your skincare routine. And then it also has these guides for the rooms in your home. So if you go to the bedroom detox, there's 8 actionable steps to detox your bedroom. The steps are combinations of learning, acting, and swapping out products. With those interactive guides, the second main feature is progress tracking. So you can earn points every time you complete another detox step. It has incentives for you to finish the guides and just kind of keep track of all the progress with a lot of positive reinforcement of all the small little changes that you're making along the way. The third main feature is probably my favorite, and it's an ingredient scanner that helps you to understand the nuance of ingredients. It helps to identify potentially harmful ingredients, petroleum derived ingredients, and potential microplastics. There are a lot of other ingredient scanner apps out there, but they often tell you an arbitrary score and sometimes use an outdated list of ingredients. And sometimes it just is still confusing to understand the nuance without the fear mongering. And so the goal of the Detox Your Dome ingredient scanner is to really help you understand the ingredients better before you purchase a product. Low tox living, non-toxic living, it's not always about being perfect. It's really just about having the informed consent with the ingredients that are in the products that we purchase. So everyone's going to have different standards, but at least you know and can understand and make that confident, informed decision before purchasing a product. That's really the goal of our ingredient scanner. And then the fourth main feature is a non-toxic product directory that has hundreds of vetted, trusted, ingredient transparent products across every category. So you can search something like toothpaste or shampoo or mattresses, whatever it is, and it will come up with several non-toxic options for you to go and check out. So while I of course, think this app is amazing. At the end of the day, it really is about you and making this the absolute best resource for the non-toxic living community. So what I'm going to do is release it into beta in 1 week on October 3rd, which means that you can be one of the first people to test out this app. Tell me what you like and don't like, what you think is missing, if there are things that are weird and glitchy. I want it to be so perfect and so helpful for all of you, which is why I almost want you guys to be like the co-creators of this app. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch it into beta and probably keep it there for a few months so we can make it absolutely perfect before we launch it to the App Store. So I will be posting a lot of information on my Instagram and TikTok about details on how to get this app on your phone in beta. It'll be very easy for you to send in submissions for feedback, for ideas for different features, for things you like, don't like. We really want to hear from you and build this app around your needs and desires when it comes to non-toxic living. So I just first want to say thank you to everyone who has been a follower, supporter, listened to any podcast episode, watched any video. I really have loved and had the best time detoxing my dome with you. And I'm so excited to continue to grow this brand and all the offerings to help make non-toxic living for you as simple and easy and accessible as possible. I am so excited to share this app with you all and can't wait to hear your thoughts. I've been reflecting recently about, like, I remember when I was a teenager and I first started wanting to be healthier and eat healthy and learning about health and what foods I should eat and whatnot, I remember thinking, one day when I have my own job and I can go to the grocery store and I can buy all my own food, like then I'll be the healthiest version of myself. Or, when I was in college, I was like, when I am no longer in college and I have my own schedule and I'm working, like that's when I'm going to be the healthiest version of myself.
I'm going to be like the best chef when I have like the nice kitchen.
Exactly.
Like, no,
right. And it's like, I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, well, I feel like now would be the time that I should feel my healthiest actually. But it's like, no, because there's so many other life things that are in the way. And there's certain seasons, like, we're entering summer now and you look at the calendar and there's weddings and there's events and there's all these social things and things happening during the week that don't happen in the winter, at least in New England. And so it's just like, you know what? This is just, life is an ebb and flow. It's never going to be like, this is the best season of my life.
There's
this is
always going to be
100%.
Right. There's always going to be something that you're
overcoming personally. And like, everyone's going through something, like whether it's like, okay, I gotta like I have all these weddings, so I have to, look a certain way. Like I gotta be in the best shape of my life this summer. Like whatever it is, there's always going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like something that's helped me is like being able to name my emotions and kind of be clear on like what I'm feeling. Because I do think there is like a cure for everything, whether you're anxious, okay, like what I'm gonna go on a walk, or if I'm sad, okay, I'm gonna call a friend, or if I'm like little things, like there's something that you can do. What are some like tools that you have in your back pocket that are like quick, easy, like micro habits that everyone can put into their days?
I was going to say that wisdom of yours definitely comes from your phoneless 5-mile walks. Yeah, I think, again, those practices of like self-check-in, where can you sprinkle those throughout your day? Maybe it's in routine, maybe it's like part of your morning ritual or your evening ritual. But one of the gifts of like having that ritual coming back to yourself is that you can go to it at any point, at any time. For me, I really lean on breath work. Even if it's 3 rounds of like 4-7-8 breathing or like alternate nasal breathing.
What is it? 4,
that will
7,
quickly
8?
Okay, it's so simple, but it's so good.
I'm ready.
Let's do one.
You breathe in. We can do one right now. I'll walk
I'm
you through.
here. I'm ready for it.
All right, you're gonna breathe. I'll count down, but you breathe in for 4. You're gonna hold for 7, and then exhale for 8. Okay, ready? Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a lot.
Wait, guys, I don't think I breathe correctly. Okay. I don't think I know how to breathe. Like people are out here doing breath work. I don't think I breathe correctly.
What do you mean?
Like I don't know. I never.
Are you breathing like through your nose? Like focus on the nose. I think.
Okay.
Like focus on the nasal breathing,
like,
right?
Totally. I think something that helps though, honestly, it's not that easy though. I think when you can find some sort of like guided, something like that, where it's actually coming for you and it takes the thought away from it, and then you just have to do it, and then it can become a lot more normal. And then you'll also start to notice like how you're naturally breathing when you like leave that practice, you know, when you stop the 4-7-8, you're like, wait, how am I breathing
And
normally?
are you doing this like when you're in an anxious state, or are you doing this no matter what? This is like part of your morning, mid-afternoon, nighttime routine?
So both, and ideally it's part of my morning routine. We are not perfect.
Yeah.
We stray from the routine. That is one of my foundational things that I come back to, is at least carving out a micro moment for myself in the morning. It does not have to be like the Instagram morning routine that's like 2 hours long, wake up at 4 a.m. I need to sleep. That doesn't work for me. But carving out something that is just for you. And for me, breath work is a good practice. For other people, it might be just like literally standing on the ground, taking a deep breath in and doing like a stretch or something like that. But I think you're right that like when we carve out moments for ourselves, we're able to like see, you know, ourselves as we are. We're able to see emotions as they come up and make connections. And I think back to your question about the ebbing and flowing, like that is a practice for me at least that allows me to, one, anchor within myself regardless of all the ebbing and flowing. Like I'm the solid thing and I can come back to the solid thing, and it allows me to have, you know, joy and presence in all of the imperfection, which is life is imperfection.
I feel like me and Soph are very aligned with this, but you can have like you can have good days and you can have bad days, and you can have days where you don't follow any of your routine, but then you have days where you are like fully set in your routine. Like it's just being able to like be gracious with yourself and being able to, it's not always perfect, but like as long as you know the tools, the tips, the tricks to get you back to like a steady state, then you're fine. Like if you have the tools in your toolbox, you know?
And that's a good thought too. I guess I would love to know your thoughts on routines. Like I feel like it's the trendy thing. This is the morning routine. This is my daily routine. This is my daily schedule, which I think, well, I'm excited to hear your thoughts, but my initial perspective is like these are really good kind of guidelines to, you know, if you want to achieve long-term goals or to kind of keep you structured to like work little things into your day. But are there negatives? Like what is your perspective on the whole routine culture?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends how you're holding it. You know, like what is the intention behind it? Is there a lot of feelings of rigidity and control and scarcity when you think about your routine? Like, if I don't do this, then I will be sick. If I don't do this, then I will be behind, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, then the routine is probably maybe hurting you more than helping you. But if you're approaching it from a place of like ritual and self-love, and if doing it energizes you versus drains you, and if it doesn't feel like it's this huge chore, then like do your routine. That's awesome. I also think that some people really thrive on structure and some people reject it like entirely. I've noticed that in the people that I worked with too. Like, does the structure include flexibility? I think for most people in all cases you need that. Like, what are your anchors? What are the things that are like your non-negotiables? That's up to you to decide. And then everything else can ebb and flow, right?
I want to like double click. Let's just say you're working with a client that doesn't like structure, doesn't like routine, but they're struggling. They have some sort of chronic condition. What then? Because I feel like so much of what we talk about, and like at least for me, like I'm such a routine person, it's helped me. But what if I wasn't?
Yes. So I did have a client that was in this exact situation, almost exact situation, but I'll speak about it broadly. Everything's obviously confidential. So they rejected structure. Traditional approaches to structure just felt overwhelming and rigid and scary. And every time that they would try to bring it in based on something that they saw from someone else, something that worked for someone else, it just did not fit them at all. So we did some work to kind of step back and think about how they were even like viewing structure. Like, what was their perspective on it? Like, why did it feel like a cage? And like a little bit into the past, where did that come from? We were able to kind of rewire their perspective on structure as something that gives them more flexibility and freedom, because what they were struggling with was an overwhelming amount of unstructured freedom. that, you know, it was almost too much, like too much free time where it's like, what do? I have so much to do. I could do so many things, which obviously all of us can relate to. But some deeper dive into like, what is it about structure or certain things that we keep coming back to that give us, you know, real freedom.
Right.
Not just the freedom where we feel like we need to be doing all these things, but the freedom that's like, I'm going to go take my dog on a walk. I'm going to go, you know, meet my friends for dinner.
Right.
That doesn't feel like a, you know,
Such a
I'm
good
falling
point.
behind
I
kind of freedom.
I
You know what I
recently
mean?
did one of these exercises where, you know, I started Detox Your Dome. I'm running this as a business. I have so many ideas. I have so many projects I'm working on. And I was feeling really overwhelmed with, I mean, it was like self-imposed things because there's so many things that I want to do that I'm excited about, that I have ideas for, whatever. And I was like, I need to just break this down. And so I made a very like structured and rigid schedule. Like on Mondays, I focus on the podcast and I edit the podcasts. On Tuesdays, I film a bunch of videos. On Wednesdays, I write the newsletter, etc. And I like literally broke it down Monday through Friday. And I feel so much more at peace now because I'm like, all I need to focus on that day is the thing that I need to do on that day. Because like, I literally don't even have to think about the things that I'm doing on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday because it's not that day yet. Like Monica came in today. She's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, honestly, I feel zen. Great. I'm like, I got outside time. I got sunshine and I still have a million things that I'm working on, but like, I know that they have their time and their place that I'm going to dedicate the attention to.
Right. That's what a gift to yourself, right? Like that's the example of structure that gives you that peace and that presence and that freedom and that like rest without guilt, right?
Absolutely.
And to like write
It's
it all
not, I mean,
out, it like you almost like took it out of your brain and like put it on paper. You're like, okay, now I can like compartmentalize it from day to day. I'm like such a to-do list girly. Like I have to, even if I know I'm going to accomplish it in like 15 minutes and I probably don't need to remember everything because I already have it up here, I will still write out the to-do list just to like check off the things. Like, okay, I actually did all this. Like, hell yeah.
I do the same thing.
I have a friend who swears by the reverse to-do list. So instead of like planning certain things out like before the day, she'll do it as she goes. So it'll be like, make bed. You'll literally make the bed and then you'll go to your list and write make bed, check. And it also just gives you insight into like, whoa, I'm actually doing a lot in my day.
You're
so maybe you have that like
celebrate yourself at the end of the day.
Okay,
I showered, but hell yeah, I showered.
And it's also it's more of like the positive reinforcement of the things you did do that versus the negative reinforcement of the checklist that still has 4 items of things that you didn't get to do.
Right. And again, back to the bio-individuality thing, like some people thrive on an empty to-do list that has a bunch of boxes that need to be checked. Like, let's go check the boxes. Other people feel completely overwhelmed and trapped and limited by it. So, you know, I think there's a lot of trial and error when it comes to something like structure. I do think that there is some form of accountability that's absolutely necessary if we want to like reach our goals. You know, tactically, what are we going to do? What time, how's that going to look, and how are we making sure we're doing it? Like, of course, that requires some form of structure. It's just going to look different for everyone.
So talk to us a little bit more about bio-individuality. We've kind of like touched on it, but I would love for you to just explain it and explain your approach to healing and health coaching.
Yeah. Bio-individuality is probably similar to what it sounds. It's just that there's no one right path. There's no one size fits all when it comes to health and wellness, healing. What works for someone might not work for you. And all of the choices you make, protocols, food, supplements, spiritual practices, movement, all of that reflects you and not somebody else. Which can be a really empowering thing, right? I'm carving my own path. Like I'm creating a wellness vision in the future that works for me. You can try on things that other people do. That's the great thing about, you know, access to something like social media is you can get the inspiration. I like to say like resonance and not replication, you know? So if I see someone else's story, I could see myself in some of it, or I could see something that, you know, triggers something in me. I'm like, wait, I feel like I would really like that. And then I can try it on, right? But when I see someone else, it's not like a script to follow because, you know, we know that we're all different.
How long would you give yourself? Let's say you're trying on a new method, right? Are you giving yourself a month, 3 months, a year? Like how long does it need to like actually work and feel like you've tried it on fully?
I hate to keep saying it depends, but that's kind of the whole
point.
the whole
Yeah.
It depends on what you're bringing in, whether or not there should be a professional involved to like help you with that structure. If it's, new skincare thing, usually you need a few months. I mean, Sophia, I feel like you would have a good answer to this because you try so many things too. But people usually are like, after a week, if it doesn't work, unless you're like reacting to
Right,
it.
right.
Like,
I guess
do you know
for
if it's gonna?
skincare, they say to try it for a month. They say to give it a full month because your skin can go through a purging process. And I think also like as a woman too, like you kind of want to give it like a full cycle's worth because your body can be different
Exactly.
and yeah.
How you relate to everything changes so
Yeah.
much throughout your cycle. I'll also give an example. I've done a few different like therapeutic diets and autoimmune protocol, for example. You have to remove quite a bit of food.
Yeah.
So for some people, it can be pretty immediate, like the symptom relief. I've heard of people feeling better after like a week to a month, but before I hit my baseline, I needed like at least 3 months. Like in my body, I didn't have that like quick relief that a lot of people seem to get. And that's just an example of, how I'm experiencing this is very different than, my neighbor. Right. But that's brings you to the coaching thing. The approach with coaching is that health is very multidimensional, right? It's beyond physical. It's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. When I was first starting my journey, I only looked at the physical. I was like, how do I stop the bloating? How do I stop the rashes? How do I stop getting dizzy, right? And I put everything else on the back burner. I thought, I'll just deal with that stuff. I'll deal with all my emotional stuff once I'm better, Obviously learned that all of these things interact. Like we have to look at health through a multidimensional lens. They're all so related and they all deserve love. Again, different buckets, maybe asking for more of you at different times of your journey. But so health coaching is, I think a lot of people actually don't understand it. So I'll be clear with this. You think of coach like you're like sports coach, like your high school soccer coach. So health and wellness coaching, a bit different, right? You're there as like a partner and a guide. Like, I am not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to be another voice, another provider that's like, these are the things you need to eat. These are the things you have to do. This is the workout you have to do. I am here to meet you where you are and be a resource and a guide and also a mirror as you connect to your intrinsic motivations, your definition of what you want your wellness or your healing journey to look like. And then I'm there to partner with you and co-create like what that actually looks like for you. Like, how do we actually make that happen for you? I think a lot of people confuse it with, like they'll hear my story and they'll come and they'll ask, tell me exactly what you did. Like, I need to do exactly what you did. And we're missing the point there. Like I'm always happy to share my experience. I'm an open book when it comes to my healing process, but I am very sensitive to the fact that like everyone's journey is so different, right? And the coach is there to, be your partner in the journey and to help. That obviously I can provide education, I can provide resources, but the process is led by you. And I think a really cool thing that comes out of coaching is the aha moments when you reflect something back to a client, they realize how much they already know and how much, they see a path for themselves and almost get permission to make that a reality. That's a really rewarding part.
And
of
that's
coaching.
the well within us, right?
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that. I love it.
Can you go into like the role that nature plays in your health and just the idea of like going outside, being one with nature? What is that all about?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, woo woo, like she likes to hug trees. True.
No shame.
I'm
I
from
love
the
to hug
Pacific
trees.
Northwest. I grew up in the trees, so no shame there. But I think that it's important for us to not use such like separating language between us and nature. Like we are nature. Like nature is a reflection of us. We're a reflection of nature. And it's a mirror to, what's going on with us. How we interact with nature is usually an indicator of, how we feel about ourselves or how we feel about our society or our culture, right? And everyone has a different relationship with it. But for me, it is so grounding, right? Like it brings me so clearly back into myself. I start every morning. I'm lucky to do that here with a walk in the woods without my phone.
Just better know where you're going.
And I, right? Like when you're around trees, flowers, water, most people have some sort of experience similar to this. I get this sensation that's like, oh, I belong.
Yeah.
Like I am exactly as I need to be. You know, when you're in the woods, for example, you're brought to, you know, a calmer state of
You feel
mind,
deeply
and a lot of
peaceful.
people,
Yeah. And your
yeah,
problems
deeply
seem so,
peaceful.
so small because there's this bigger and better and larger world outside.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. I feel definitely less alone with my, you know, issues,
Yeah.
situation, whatever, when I go into the woods, into nature. I think it's not like I can go to the woods across the
Yeah.
street. I can
You're
go
lucky.
to the water nearby, and that's lucky. But I did live in New York
Yeah.
City for a while after college. So
Yeah.
I'm
What are some
I'm aware of what it's
what are some tips you have for people who live in cities, metropolitan areas, don't have access to wide open outdoor spaces? One of the very first brands that I started using when I transitioned to a non-toxic lifestyle, and one that I've consistently kept purchasing products from, is Primally Pure. They have such simple yet effective products for skin, body, hair, home, and baby. They use ingredients that you can just recognize and understand when looking at the ingredient label. They also source their ingredients from farms that prioritize soil health as well as regenerative and sustainable practices. So you just know that they are the highest quality products and you can feel good about purchasing and supporting them. Okay, some pillar products that I recommend. First, their charcoal deodorant. This is the one and only clean, non-toxic deodorant that actually works for me. I've recommended it to so many people who are also now hooked. Their baby balm, even though this is for babies, this is what I use as my alternative to Aquaphor or Vaseline. I have it in all of our cars, bags. I keep it next to the bed. It's so hydrating and nourishing. I use it on my lips mainly, but also all over my body. I sometimes get eczema and just like dry, irritated skin in the winter, and it's been a huge help for that. I also cannot live without their spirulina soothing mask. I do it at least once a week. I'll do some sort of clay mask and then the Primally Pure soothing mask afterwards. Not only does it make my skin so bouncy and restored, but it also just smells so good. I swear it has like aromatherapy benefits. I'll do it every Sunday on my self-care Sundays, and it just like resets me back for the week. I recommend the soothing mask for people with dry skin, and then for people with oily, combination, or acne prone skin, I recommend the clarifying mask. Other Primally Pure products that I love are their body butters that are made with tallow. The almond and vanilla one actually makes me smell like a cookie. Their cleansing oils, their dry shampoo, their candles, shower steamers. I also gifted their lip oil to a few people over Christmas, and I've heard wonderful things. You actually just can't go wrong with anything Primally Pure. I have tried at least a dozen of their products at this point, and I've had such wonderful experiences with every single one of them. They also ship completely plastic free, which always gains points in my book. Every time I use something from Primally Pure, it really feels like I'm treating myself. All of their products just have a very elevated feeling and scent. I always say that I feel like I'm at the spa when I'm using Primally Pure. I am so happy to tell you that I can get you a 10% discount off of all Primally Pure products if you use the code DetoxYourDome at checkout. That is DETOXYOURDOME for 10% off at checkout.
Yeah. You can make it work. And I think that's in part shifting your relationship to what nature is. Like, does it need to be a mountain hike in, you know, in Jasper, or can it be you looking at the 5 trees in, you know, Madison Square Park,
Right.
or walking down to the Battery and like looking at the water? And that shift was really important to me. Obviously, you can go to like parks when you can. I would just find moments to either walk by the water if you can, if you're in a city where there's water. Look at the trees. Something I loved to do in New York was like mindfulness walks where you'd go out. I usually have my phone on me, but I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't be looking at it. But turn it off and like try to engage your senses. So I'd go down to a
Right.
small park, look at the leaf, you
Yeah.
know, like
It sounds
touch,
silly,
touch,
but like try
literally
it.
touch grass.
Yep.
Truly try it.
Actually, I know it does sound silly. It doesn't sound like it would move the needle at
Right.
all, but it's another opportunity for you to like connect to yourself, and to the world,
I've
right?
been trying to be a lot more mindful and like paying attention to my surroundings on my walks too. And only recently have I started doing walks without a phone, without listening to something, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
I would say in the past 1 to 2 months, but I live in like a very suburban area. So I'm like, I'm looking at the houses, I'm looking at the whatever.
Yeah.
And there's this small pond that it's 1 mile around. So it's perfect. You can, walk to it, walk around it a few times or whatever. And kind of a sad story. But the other day I noticed there was like this dead turtle, like a massive, like he was huge. He was like 2 feet big, but he was like floating over. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, what's happening with this turtle? But there was probably 20 to 30 to 40 people that walked by me that did not notice the turtle and notice what was going on because they were so on their phones, texting, listening, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I only noticed this because I'm not having any other distractions. And it was for me
Yeah.
almost a reflection on how distracted we are, even on our walks, because I was like, how is nobody else seeing what's happening? Right. Like, how are you missing this? But it was, everyone's just in their own world. So it's definitely there. And I'm like, how much have I missed on my walks by just like being distracted?
Yeah, we're constantly distracting ourselves. I'm sad about the turtle, but you're touching on a good point. I think something that inevitably ends up connecting you to nature can even happen in a really urban area. Like having that sort of mindfulness walk, which is just like pay attention to your sensations for a second. Look at the texture of the building you're passing that you pass every single day on the way to work. And you'll realize that you're seeing things in your most routine paths that you've never seen before. And that's like, that makes the world seem cool and magical, and I think anytime you can feel that sort of like whimsy reconnection to the world, it's usually a positive thing,
To like romanticize your life a little bit too.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about things that you've never thought about before. Like you're like, oh, I love the way that window looks. I would do that, but then with that other color, like your mind starts going in different places.
Yes.
Yeah. You become creative too. In New York, I actually recommend this if anyone's listening from New York. I volunteered at like the Battery Park's urban farm. So if I really needed to go touch grass after being in New York City for too long, I would spend the first part of a Saturday like touching dirt and like planting spinach. And I'm like, I grew up with a garden, but I'm not like a gardener. But it was still something that was like totally took myself out of the environment and like made me feel like I was in touch with the world.
Totally. No, a community garden can bring you a long way.
Oh, yeah.
So we've sort of touched on it, and I have a feeling that your relationship with nature sort of plays into it, but talk to us a little bit about spirituality, because we talked a lot about the physical side, we talked a lot about the emotional side. Of course, spirituality is highly bio-individual, but how can we tap into our spirituality to support our body, soul, and mind?
I think this is a great question. I first want to say that there is no barrier to entry to spirituality. And I think we're often made to feel that way. Like if we haven't read the right books or gone to the right churches or, been in touch with the right healers or felt the right energy, that like we don't get to have that. And I think that's a sad thing that a lot of people think, but we are inherently spiritual beings. And whether your anchor is the universe or nature or God or your future self, like the version of you that is next week, whatever it is, like you're already connected to that, and you can define what that actually means for you. Like it's going to look and feel different for you than it does for other people. But the idea of spirituality is just that we are connected to something outside of ourselves, something that is bigger than ourselves, that takes us out of all the things that are happening in our head and in our, little lives that are important, something that takes you out and, makes you realize that there are bigger things at play. Whatever context you want to put on that, that's up to you. But I think I fall into this sometimes too. I'm like, have I read enough books about Buddhism to speak on Buddhism? Can I relate to that quote if I haven't, gone through all of this spiritual education? When you connect to something, you connect to something. When you feel some surge of energy, you feel it, like that's yours to hold, and you don't need like permission or like a label necessarily to have that experience.
That is such good advice. And I've never heard that advice before. And it really is putting it all into perspective for me, because it's like, you think that, again, you think there's going to be a moment in your life when you meet the guru or like the priest or the person that really changes things for you, or who gives you all of the answers to the questions that you have. But it's sort of like, it is the things that you're picking up along the way. It's all the pieces and the teachings. And it's like, I read that book 10 years ago, but I still carry those teachings with me. And I am a wiser, more spiritual person because I have practiced those things. And it is available. I really love that advice.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, no barriers to entry. Everyone can access it. And I do think it's a pillar of our health, right? It's something I totally put on the back burner because I thought that there had to be so much like meaning making behind it. And for some people there is a lot of meaning making. You know, maybe you grew up in certain contexts, maybe you met the guru that changed your life at a certain time. That's awesome. But if that hasn't happened for you, like you are still spiritually experiencing the world, you know?
Yeah, how would you recommend someone like tap into their spirituality if they haven't, met or have that like aha moment?
Yeah. I think an easier way to start for some people is to do some like future self visualizations, right? Like higher self, a version of you in the future. And that usually opens some sort of, connection to a version of you that is bigger or has experienced more than what you have experienced now. So that kind of ties into the idea of connecting to something that is bigger than you right now, you know? And wherever that leads, that leads. I think the walking without a phone, that's gonna be the theme here.
Love it.
Take a walk without your
One thing
phone.
out of this, please take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or bring your phone for safety, but just turn it off. Like put
I
it.
think everyone is addicted to their phone and obsessed with their phones. Have you ever been on the train and you just look around and you're like, everyone is dialed into their phone?
Yes.
Right. I think that's like that affects all of us too, right? We're such social beings, and to be hit with that like subconscious rejection of connection, like it takes a toll on everyone, like it becomes then scary to approach people because we're so like energetically closed off,
Yep.
Yeah.
But when you're not on your
You see
phone,
the
you
world
see so many
so
things.
much.
You see opportunities. You might meet people that you wouldn't have otherwise. Yeah.
Okay, I have a few tactical, tangible questions. The first is health trackers. How do you feel about like the Oura Ring, Whoops, all like the health and fitness trackers?
I got my
Oh,
Oura ring on
nice.
right now. I think, Sophia, you posted about this
Yep.
today, and I'm just gonna echo your message here. It all comes back to like, what is your intention with using it? It can be like a really cool, supportive tool that helps you get insights into your lifestyle, and you can get real time results of like if I would like go to bed an hour early, or if I don't go on my phone for an hour before bed, like, whoa, my HRV is higher. Whoa, my sleep quality is way better. And I actually like feel good. I think it is easy to go in with that like really good intention and that agency and then end up on the like control obsessive side, where like if I don't have my 3 crowns, if I don't close my ring, then the day is a failure. And I think whenever we have those thoughts, which we're human, like it's inevitable, we need to check back in with like why the heck we have these things on. This thing can't be controlling us, like this is helping us out.
I personally love it. I think it's like changed my life for the better. But
Yeah.
I think you're so right. Like when you become obsessed with it, it's knowing yourself to be like, okay, maybe I need to take a break here. But I freaking love these. I will
It's
say
super
this
cool.
so loud. I'll scream it on rooftops. Like it's knowing the data behind everything and knowing the numbers. Like you feel like validated for like how you're feeling.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't sleep enough, or oh my gosh, I did like have that large meal right before I went to bed. Like I feel like I'm so much more in touch with myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if that is a conduit for you to be more in touch with yourself, that's sick. That's awesome. That's the goal. I think it's just when it takes more control over you.
Totally.
And there's certain people, he's gonna hate that I'm gonna bring him up, but my boyfriend, he plays a sport and he would wear one, and if he woke up and his numbers weren't great, then it can get inside your head like, well, I still have to go play a game.
Right. And it's
So
like it psychs you out, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to perform my best today because
my sleep score was bad.
Yeah, is it gonna like trigger some self-fulfilling prophecy, or is it just neutral information? I think it's always neutral, but I think the opportunity for like normal people to get access to that sort of real-time information is really cool. I love it for cycle tracking too. I think that is cool and empowering.
So awesome. Okay, my next tactical question is on fasting for women.
Good question. I feel like there's a lot of voices online. I'm going to come back to it depends, but the context actually matters here. Like, are you a woman? Do you have a cycle? There is science behind like certain parts of your cycle. It's probably not as helpful or effective too fast, whereas other times of your cycle, it can be potentially more supportive. How's your stress? You know, like, do you have a big stress load? How's your activity? Are you doing big workouts and activities in the morning? Like, do you need fuel before those things? And like your health history, your relationship with food, you know, we can't be promoting like intermittent fasting to just everyone because the context really does matter. I think if it helps us like eating intuitively, that can be powerful. But again, all of these things require self-awareness. We can pair the like science of, you know, if you're a woman, certain parts of your cycle, it can be better to do it if you're going to do it, but also be self-aware. How is it feeling in your body? Like, what are your other requirements? What's your stress, activity, health history, all those things? Yeah.
Yep.
What about the whole protein, like having your body weight in protein every single day? What's your take there?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
am no expert to say anything. I'm just gonna make sure everyone knows that. I'm not giving any medical advice here, none whatsoever. But I think when you see those things pop off on social media, and especially when there's any content that includes like fear mongering or clickbait, or if you see it and you feel those feelings of fear and like rigidity, take a pause, ask yourself how you're relating to that information, and if you're coming from a place of curiosity, cool, go look into it more, you know? Like, protein is a really good and cool thing. Protein needs are different for everyone, you know? Like, you could work with someone and find out that your requirement is more or less than what's being told to you on social media. So I don't think you should really take anything blanket statement like as fact. I shouldn't say that, sorry. Anything that's like promoted so heavily and so clickbaity on social media as like the word of God, right? Like, take a pause with it. You can look into it. You can find resources, support. You can ask for professional guidance too. But yeah, that was a workaround way of answering that question.
It's such a good point. It's like you're just helping us switch our mindset on all of these things and really like being able to look at these pieces of advice, which for some people could be really valid pieces of advice, but know that they don't always apply to all of us, or like we can take pieces of them and leave other pieces behind, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Only we know what it feels to be good. Like, only we know what we need to make ourselves like fully healed and happy. And I don't know, like it's some weeks I'm like, I don't want to work out this week. Like, and I feel the best that I've felt. And I like, honestly, I feel like I like lose weight in those weeks.
Yeah.
And some weeks I'm like, I want to like go heavy at the gym. And some weeks I'm like, it's the whole ebb and flow of life. And it's just like being gracious to yourself.
Well, you're hitting the nail on the head too of, you know, you are the expert on you, period, you know, and you can get so many support systems, you can bring them in, but it's really up to you to determine whether or not you feel good and whether or not you are feeling well, you know? Like, how are you defining that? And if we can tap back into our intuition, that's one of the strongest skills that we can have. That's like my whole purpose is trying to like help people do that, because it's not saying like disregard outside opinion, like disregard science, not even a little bit, you know? It's exactly what you said, Sophia, too, like changing your mindset around how you engage with things and how you integrate experiences, like not losing sight of yourself and how your body's feeling and how your body is talking to you. Because, you know, that's your solid thing. You go through the ebbs and flows, but you are the only solid. You're the only yeah.
No, I love it.
So it's so inspiring.
What's your take on like,
oh no, whenever you get that giggle, like I never know what's coming.
Okay, you know how, okay, what's your take on no one's going to save you?
I think
and there's no right or wrong. Like I was thinking about this like the other day. I'm like,
No, I'm laughing because I'm gonna give you, people are gonna be so annoyed. I'm saying the same thing. There's nuance here. I think if it's coming from a place of at the end of the day, you're the only one who's got your back, you know? Like, if that feels empowering to you, then that's awesome. If it makes you feel like you're on an island and that you have no support systems or community, or you can't get help from anyone, then scrap that language entirely, you know? Like, nobody's gonna come save you. It does apply to, like, my experience, right? I went to over 40 doctors,
Wow.
conventional, alternative, functional, name it, I've probably tried it. And I was operating within that mindset of I just needed to find the right person to save me. And it couldn't be me. Like, there was no way it could be me. Obviously, I hit some shift where I realized that, like, yeah, in an empowering way, I am the only one who can save myself. There are going to be people along the way that help me out, you know, that help support me, that help with my symptom management, that help me like reorient around my experiences and understand them differently. But at the end of the day, you are the dog connector. You're the one that's going to advocate for yourself, and you're the only one that's in your body. So I think it depends.
No, this has been such an empowering and validating conversation, and also reflective, because it just all very true. And I think people who are listening to this podcast have probably gone through or are going through their own healing journeys, and you can always kind of look back and see, oh, these things really did work for me, or these things didn't work for me. And it's always a process of like shedding the things that don't work, trying new things out, and just being in tune with yourself, because you can never replicate the same thing that someone else does. It's not possible. And not compare. I mean, I always kind of remind myself of that with social media and mental health things, but it's true for this, for health and healing, because you can't. We're all different individuals with different needs and different bodies.
Yeah, and I hope we can find some like connection in that truth though too. You know, it's not supposed to make you feel like because I'm an individual and I'm gonna experience things differently than someone else that nobody can relate, because that's not true. Like we can all relate so much more than we think,
and
right?
I think, like,
you're never alone.
I want to end with that. Like, lean on your friends, lean on your support system, lean on your family, like share your story, because you don't know how your story can, you know, open the door for other people. So I feel like continue talking about it. But yes, like you are your own advocate.
Monica, do you have any closing out questions?
Okay. Closing out question. I think I asked Annie this, so I'm going to ask you too. What is one mantra that you are loving right
now? It's going to be on theme, actually. What comes up for me is, I don't even know who said this. I don't know. Creds to you. But I am coming back to myself again and again is something that I come back to again and again.
I love that. I love that. It's the well within you.
Yes. Yeah. We all have a well within us. We can learn to tap in.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Alex. This has been an empowering conversation. I've learned so much. Where can everyone find you and the Wellery?
So website, you can find me at thewellery.co, and then my Instagram handle is the same, thewellery.co.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I can't wait for all of our listeners to tap into the well within them.
It was so great chatting with you guys. Thanks for having me on.